Another dark log from the diary of a griever named John Weaver, which is me. Evening, guys. What's going on? It's the 16th of February, 2026. It's Monday, and it's a little after midnight right now. It's about 12:30. Another pill for the antibiotic, so I can get rid of this damn bug, the cellulitis I got. Oh, something happened about 10 days ago I didn't even realize and wasn't even paying attention to it. See, apparently old Trump face was at a rally somewhere. And he's telling people, probably of the clergy type, that he's gotten rid of an amendment. He can't get rid of an amendment. Not just by executive order. It just doesn't work that way. You have to go to the Congress to repeal the damn thing. Or else the laws have to be stricken down by the Supreme Court to tell her the law is against the Constitution in one way or another or interfering with the rights of people. So Trump just can't say that there's a certain amendment out there he can't stand. And he just removed it with executive order. It just doesn't work that way. And the amendment we're talking about is the 1954 amendment called the Johnson Amendment. And done by Lyndon Johnson when he was still in the Senate at the time. And it was concerning about tax exemptions for the churches. Now, a long while ago, before the amendment came in option, there was a lot of people influencing political figures left and right, including churches. But apparently there was a law made back in '54 of limiting church functions concerning about politics. Meaning you couldn't badmouth anybody in the Congress, or actually in the pews. But you also couldn't support your local politician with donations coming from the church or of any kind of church organization. Otherwise, you'd be losing your tax exemption. Meaning, churches used to be taxable, but in a way, well, they were taxable. Had to pay the support to the Fed, state, whatever. Pay their own church tax. Call it that way. But because Johnson put up the amendment up there, the tax would not be affecting the churches if the churches stayed away, for the most part, donating to politicians. They can try to talk about issues, but they couldn't endorse. Meaning old Gasbag, if he happened to go into certain churches over here and he wants their donations, he couldn't do it. He could go in there and worship, but he couldn't do any politicking. I'm such a great guy. You got to do more for me because I've done these things over here. I'm so great. And if you happen to say anything wrong about me, I'm just going to take away your tax exemption and we're going to tax the crap out of you. But don't worry about that. I'm a good guy. Yeah, right. Sure. Give me a freaking break on that one. This is a guy that goes to churches and starts threatening them left and right. Vote for me, support my party, support my issues, or else. Or else you lose your tax exemption and you'll be taxed to death. Yeah, you're talking about your threats right there. That was made about a couple of weeks back. But I didn't hear anything happening in the politics. There was other things happening, but I didn't hear about this damn crap. So, yeah, I'm a little piffed about it. I mean, how would you like to go to a church, even if it's non-denominational, and then you see somebody over here just saying, vote for me or else? It's bad enough when the schmucks are threatening to put in a poll tax. Money that's coming out of your pocket that goes into their pockets to support their ass by the means of getting IDs, specialized IDs, in order for you to vote. Now, it's one thing if you happen to bring in a proof of address. You bring in your ID card. Of course, you want Social Security cards shown to people. I never had to do that. Even when I was voting, person to person, never had to do that. But now, the SAVE Act is trying to get through. And because of the Democrats doing the filibuster, temporarily stopped the funding for Department of Home Health Services. And still doing a filibuster right now on the SAVE Act because they don't want this damn shit in there. I'm not quite sure if the Republicans want this doom and gloom on their ass. I mean, think about it. The Republicans want money, more money out of the public. It's supposed to save people from doing voter fraud. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say doing voter fraud? They're saving them from voter fraud. Oh, give me a fucking break. Because if I'm not mistaken, there was only a small percentage. I mean, a very, very, very microscopic percentage of people trying to commit voter fraud. Everybody else knew the score. You came up to the polls, they could verify your ass, and you'd vote. But the Republicans and the Trumplicans want the Republican Party to win at all costs. They're forcing people to have IDs to vote. Now, I heard stories about name changes happening and other older folks that in different states, they didn't have ID with them. But at least the poll workers knew them and knew the address, and they were able to vote. But because voter laws were getting changed in different states, they'd have to show proof of ID, and they were disparaged. Said, no thanks, you're not voting. So race is lost, or barely won, because of people who could not get the stuff I ate already for the antibiotics is getting to me again. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about this. Head over to the bathroom right now. Apparently, the medication I'm taking right now has this effect on me where I ate almost a big dinner. Hamburger, a couple of hash browns, milk. Now I'm getting into a dark place right now, and it's going to be gross. I'm close to a toilet right now. I'm just waiting for the damn stuff to settle down in my stomach. I took a few sips of ginger. Canada Dry on this one. To help settle out the stomach just a little bit. Now this stuff is supposed to help with the antibiotic situation here. Give me a minute here. Sorry about that, guys. And now I know I was talking about politics, and then it wasn't about talking about politics that made me sick to my stomach. No, it's just about the medication interfering with my food. Still digested. Had a cheeseburger with onions, a couple of hash browns. All of it I made at home. And some milk. Always have to have milk with it. I was talking about the SAVE Act, where it was going to be interfering with the voting. Talked about it a couple of times already, but I'm still pissed off about it. Because we're talking about getting more ID to prove that we are who we are. They're worried about immigrants voting, or actually illegal immigrants voting. They're coming on over the border to vote. They're coming over the borders to vote for us. They're going to be voting Democratic. Oh no! I can't believe how many stupid arguments I've heard from other people regarding this damn shit. Put this off here. Give me a second. I know the camera angle sucks, so deal with it. I'm having to deal with it. I ain't got the money. You know, my earlier videos, I've been talking about how the SAVE Act is going to screw people over left and right, like me. I got to get new IDs. I got to pay out the money for this thing. Like I've got the money for it. In this particular period of time, I had taken off school to deal with the health concerns. Usually, when I'm going to college, I get money. That's how it works sometimes. I've been doing it for about 10 years. So, I know what it's like to be dependent upon that small bit of bounty. But, I'm doing it also because I'm going to get a degree one of these 3 days. Just to satisfy something of my family, an obligation. But to myself as well. And that money would have probably gone to a new bed or maybe new IDs. So I got to deal with the limited income I've got coming in every single month. It's not the easiest, not the greatest, but you know, it works. And it takes time to get this stuff. I may not have the time for it, so I got to work on that shit. Only if the SAVE Act gets to be passed. See my earlier videos about this damn thing. They're buried within the past 2 or 3 weeks. We see those. Trump's trying to do anything and everything he can to make sure he's going to get in office and stay in office. He's going to cheat his ass off, and he's going to make sure that he is number one. He can't break the Constitution at all. He can try to talk to these dumbass lawyers, but they can't break the Constitution when it comes down for the amendment that keeps him from getting into office again. Oh, they tried one thing I've heard. Once Trump's term's been ended, they were thinking they're going to be putting J.D. Vance as president. And then J.D. Vance would step aside because he would nominate Trump as his president, as his vice president, as his heir. And then Trump would be president again, and J.D. Vance would step out of public. Of course, he can try running again for the same office again. But there's no way the Constitution would allow this. It's only 2 times that you're allowed to be president. Say, for example, if I had run for president, let's say I won. And I feel like I'm doing a good job, or people think I'm doing a good job, I'll run again. Okay? 2 times it. 8 years. The things I haven't seen the dumb shits try to do is to work a way through Congress an amendment bill to change the limitations. What, these fuckers didn't think about this one originally? Boy, they fucked up. I say it, they're fucked up on this one here. The Supreme Court will not overrule it because it's already been established. Nobody set up a precedent. Nobody set up a challenge to the courts concerning about if it's unconstitutional to limit the president's staying power. It's one thing limiting his actions in Congress or in the country. But the Supreme Court screwed this up before he got in office the second time. Trump versus the United States. And Trump won it. But only him or whoever gets the POTUS, President of the United States. And if they're doing actions that are for the country's good, such as national security, they could have considered it as legal. I don't know if all the ICE shit's happening right now would be considered legal or not, since they're breaking forth due process laws, including the Fourth Amendment, and First Amendment, and Second, and I think Fifth. But nobody's brought the challenges up, or it hasn't gone through the Supreme Court yet to make sure if all these things are logistical and legal. Crazy times we're dealing with, because now the Constitution that we have for nearly 250 years, is being challenged more and more. It's one thing for an amendment or two to get knocked off, but the entire thing? Another issue I had is concerning about the United Nations and also NATO getting their ass reamed by Trump. I don't get it with this asshole. Is he that much against law and order? Is he that much against rules, regulations, the Constitution, treaties, the things that we've had going for almost a century, that would keep all of our borders and trading working? Nope. He wants chaos, confusion. He wants more money. He wants power. He wants control. He wants to tell people this is him in charge. Now, I'm wondering what if he's going to be stepping on somebody else's territory in this one. It's more like a mob thing if I can look at it as a mob mentality at this point. What happens if a mob boss crosses a line or crosses territory that the other bosses don't like? There would have been retaliation back in the 20s and 30s, 1920s and 1930s, if stuff like that ever happened. And there was. They had to make sure that everybody else was playing nice and even at this point over here. Even decades down the road, we haven't heard too much issues concerning about mob operations. Not since the 70s or 80s, 1970s and 1980s. Beyond that, we haven't heard a word about it. If they're still in operation, well, they're in operation. But they don't publicize it as much, at least not out here in the West Coast. But Trump's trying to do anything and everything he can to get money and power and glory. He wants people to like him. He hates it that his reputation is sullied so much. And he's got the lowest numbers of any president's got so far. And little things would eat him alive. What was it? Weeks ago we actually had a visitation. Trump visited an auto plant back east somewhere. And an auto worker expressed his First Amendment rights about what he thought about Trump and his actions. And Trump's going, fuck you, and does the middle finger. And then threatens to have the guy fired, or tells him, you're fired. Now, there's no way in hell he could do that. But of course he could lean on the company CEOs and fire this guy, he insulted me, and if you don't do it, I'll get you too. But the auto worker supported the guy, and he's still back at work, with nothing on his record. Even the auto plant said, he did nothing wrong except voiced his concerns. And Trump didn't like it. That's the thing about the gas bag. He can push shit out to people. He can insult the living crap out of them, but he can't take it. He can't take it. J.D. Vance was at the beginning of the ceremonies, and they were booing his ass. Foreign press had video on this, had audio. But the American press did not. Trump did not want that leaked out to anybody. But on the social media, oh yeah, it was leaked out like crazy. Still talked about from time to time. And Vance is not well liked and well known, actually well liked in Europe or abroad. But the Trump administration keeps saying that he is very well liked and very respected. He ain't respected out here. Are you kidding me? He is not. He's an ass kisser. And then there's Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, born from Cuban immigrants, escaped Cuba because they didn't want to deal with Castro and his shit. So Marco wants payback in the worst way. Telling crap to Trump and the administration that they need to take back Cuba. They need to do a regime change. Hell, if they can do it to Venezuela, why not to Cuba? Cuba, they're already squeezing dry right now of precious resources. The people are too damn scared and too damn weak right now to make a move on the Castro regime. And they haven't been that strong in over a century since the takeover. If they had, Castro would not have been in power, either one of the Castros. So this is what we're dealing with, guys. The political intrigue. How to do regime changes in your own backyard. And after we do Cuba, then what? I ask you again, what then? Because once Cuba gets nailed, if there is a regime change done by the United States, how will we do it? Another SEAL operation? Will there be casualties this time? Will we be needing a naval blockade? Here's the fun part. We already have an established base over there, Guantanamo. We have Gitmo as used as a prison. It's supposed to have been a U.S. base. Some kind of arrangements that we actually had with the Cuban government during those days, I think. I would have to check into how Guantanamo formed. But we have U.S. presence over there. And since 9/11, 2001, we've been using it as a prison site. We have limited capacity on that place, on that little part of bay and landscape. But it's also an air base. Puerto Rico has an air base. We have a naval base. And Cuba knows it. And if we actually do get military presence, worse, there is going to be instability in that territory. And how's it going to be affecting the rest of the Cuban countries and island nations? That's going to be a major question for everybody, isn't it? And I don't know what the course of action is going to be like. If we were dealing with 1960s again, and Cuba was getting missile complex going, that freaked us out back in 1963 on this one. The Cuban Missile Crisis. Anybody remember that one? We already had Bay of Pigs. And that fucked up. I think it was back in the 50s to 60s. There goes my dog. So I gotta tend to her. But whatever Rubio wants to have happen, it ain't gonna happen. He's looking at a major shift. Venezuela was a major shift right there, but they already had an established regime. What happens if we try to take out Cuba? Actually, Castro. How do we take him out? Are we going to capture him or are we going to kill him? And if we do kill them, who's taking their place? Oh. Yeah. I don't have anything else to add on this one, guys. That being said, I gotta take care of she and must be obeyed.